brain stuff, just for the good old days kind of thing. I don't know whether the mystic actually is watching my videos. He does get whatever. He has this thing where, you know, you have to appeal to him for him to be bothered. He just is a man of his taste or something, you could say. You know, yeah, he needs to be. It's not an obligation. It has to be something that he senses as correct. And if he has some reason to sense it to be unpleasant or negative, then he listens to that voice and says, no, I'm not going to be bothered. So there's some kind of negative to it. But I'm sure it depends on value. Again, you know, I'm sure he does things that are unpleasant because he knows they need to get done for him to have some pleasant thing to happen in the future. And he may or may not realize that he's not going to get any intelligent conversation from anybody but me. So he's going to have to pay a price for it, which is he's going to have to accept the unpleasant moments. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But it is this whole idea of the I, you know, thinking about the idea of the part of us that feels like it's something magical, like I'm conscious and feeling. And we sort of label that me. But what is me? I mean, it's obviously just a brain function that's creating this theater, okay, of reality. And so lots of us agree that we're not really interacting with anything. We're not interacting with a world that's as we perceive it. It's much deeper and thicker and full of stuff, and you know, we're just seeing pieces of it, parts of it, symbols, elements. Just the photons, for example. I'm not seeing the heat. I'm not seeing all the other stuff, radio waves. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm not really interacting with reality. I'm interacting with my brain's interpretation of it. I mean, even the real things are being represented by photons hitting my eyeballs and creating a sense of this physical thing that I'm interacting with. But I'm really interacting with the model, right? The picture of it. What my brain says it is. Which is sort of an interesting phrase, right? What your brain says it is. Yeah, you know, because lots of people say things. Say something is something. But we know lots of those definitions are wrong. Like, Trump's a great American. You know, something, people could say that. It's, you know, or Trump's an imbecile. Yeah, we know which one's the right answer. You know, a self-obsessed, you know, psychotic, selfish cunt. Anyway, just, you know, taking appropriate advantage of making fun of retards when they're right in front of you. But anyway, so this whole I thing. And so the mystic has turned it into a kind of a philosophical argument in the sense of if you don't have a good definition for this thing, then you're not allowed to claim its reality, and that you have to go back to some earlier stage and say we're just the universe universing, or some other kind of cruder mechanism. And I would defend the I in some sense. I mean, I'm not defending it as there's somebody inside of you with a brain besides your brain, okay? There's not something else with a brain inside of you going, I'm me and I'm running the Gary machine. So yes, it's just your brain creating this fart. It is you. So there's no question about that part of it. But I would defend the idea that the mechanism, me, is a cause and effect machine, and we can know some of the causes and effects. We can see some of the functions. So we should be able to agree that we have sensations and thoughts, and those aren't really exactly the same thing. They blend into each other, but thinking is kind of free, you know, and feeling isn't thinking. It's like more aggressive. It's either like a good thing or a bad thing feeling. It's either feels good or it feels bad. Like even your thoughts about what you're thinking, or thought, like I could have a feeling about how I'm saying this, and if I'm not saying it quite right, I'll get a sad feeling, like, oh, it's not quite right, and I'll feel frustrated, and I'll feel irritated and annoyed because I'm not saying just what I want to say, and it's not coming out just the way I want it, and I'm all saddy faced. It's a feeling. It's different than the thoughts. It's a different kind of engine that's producing the feelings than the engine that produces the thoughts. But the two engines shove their exhaust and their fuel line. They're sharing fuel and sharing exhaust. They're choking each other and playing with each other in a sense. In good touch and bad touch ways. Your feelings fuck up your thoughts, and your thoughts can fuck you when it comes to having a good day. So there's a fight with the ideological part of you, the part that has knowledge, smart, and the part of you that's me horny, me whiny. And those are like two different people almost. So you can almost say the I is, my best I is Mr. Smart, Mr. Spock, kind of smart, logical, take your time, be disciplined, blah, 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 blah. And, the other asshole's just going, can I grab him by the pussy? Is that really legal? I can do that? Will that really work? Well, maybe. It's doing that kind of shit. So they're not very, very different extremes, Jekyll and Hyde metaphors in our narratives about this life, because we've sort of recognized these kind of elements inside of ourselves, so this shouldn't be so controversial a statement. So when the mystics ask the question, what is it, this I think you can describe it in some ways. Certainly it's a combination of life experiences. So the I becomes more sophisticated and fancier and has all kinds of more interesting gestures and does all kinds of fancier stuff the longer it lives, the more it plays the game. And some of that stuff is just, once you're 17, you know how to run, you kind of run the same for the rest of your life. You know how to do certain things, you drive the same, you don't learn those. Some of those things are just like riding a bicycle. You don't ride the bicycle fancier as you get older. It's just, I figured out how to do it, I do it. So some parts of it are, there's no evolution in some parts of your character. Maybe even in these articulation things, your personality, how you inflect, when you're talking, some of that stuff might be kind of static. Once you know how to say something with a little bit of, it works good enough. I used this gesture, and it works for me. Like Trump. Same kind of silly gesture has been working for 40 years. I'm sort of gay, but not gay. It's like grabbing by the pussy. But I do fondle their nuts now and then. Anyway. Probably been there. Anyway. So so the I is definitely something that goes through experiences, and the experiences become reflected in the behavior of the machine. It's seen things like that. I saw somebody do that. It was funny. So real and unreal experiences, in the sense that we have real experiences where, I just watched my sister get eaten by an alligator, and we have unreal ones where we can watch a movie and it can inspire us. We can say, gee, I love that person, I'd like to be a good person like that, blah 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 blah. I could say that happened to me in a little bit of a sense, in that there were movies that actually did inspire me, like the Christmas Carol by Dickens. When I saw the Scrooge movie the first time, I was just I said, that's it. That's how you understand your life, is that you need somebody to drag you through it the right way, and show it to you just in these right pieces and say, see, look at all the opportunities you missed to be a hero, to be a great person, to do the right thing. How much time, how much have you squandered of your fucking life, you useless piece of shit? I was just marveled by that power of the idea of just being forced to deal with your humiliations and your failures in some kind of productive way, and understanding that you could have, you really missed an opportunity there, you really missed one there, you know, for what stupid ambition and what stupid, you know, 5 minutes of fun did you compromise so much? You know, that whole reflecting and recognizing just how easy it is to squander your life, and that's what Scrooge had done. He squandered his opportunities in life. And so anyway, I found that very powerful as a metaphor, as a story. There wasn't a real thing, but the ideas were valid and logical. And they said to me, yeah, this is how you got to think. This is something you got to keep. This is important. Okay, do it for Tiny Tim or something, you know. That kind of theme, notion, was now a wheel in my head. And it just kept saying, Scrooge metaphor, Scrooge metaphor, Scrooge metaphor, Scrooge metaphor, Scrooge metaphor. It runs. The wheel runs for the rest of my life. Scrooge metaphor, Scrooge metaphor. And yes, our real life experiences, you know, stay away from alligators, stay away from alligators, stay away from alligators, that kind of thing. Those are wheels turning. And they just keep turning. Once they're roll, they keep rolling as ideas. And every time they roll, if you say, gee, I'm glad that wheel rolled for me there. I needed that. Yeah, way to go, Scrooge metaphor. Thanks for popping into my head. Every time you say, thanks for popping into my head, you know, oh, I'm glad I remembered that. Be careful. I'm glad I remember that. Think about Tiny Tim. Every time I say I'm glad, I gave it a little more spin. And so it's a keeper. It's going to stay the more I validate it. The more times I say, yes, that was the right perspective. And the inverse is relevant. The more times my brain says, think about a horse's anus with shit coming out. Well, yes, the more times that pops up and I say, oh, fuck. Don't do that. Stop that, brain. Bad brain. Bad. Then, eventually the brain will say, yeah, don't do that. Just fuck that shit. That shit's no good. I mean, for a while I might not get it. But I'm just saying, if you keep saying no, it will learn. So that's sort of what we are. So we're made up of these life experiences where we bang into stuff bangs into us, and we are this reflection. Like I said, we're just an eddy. So we're part of the stream. We're just a function of the universe, yes, but we're not exactly the stream. We're this little weird part that's going funky all on its own. It's doing its own little complex universe thing right here. And in that sense, we can identify it and say, that's an eye. Because it has this unique amount of rocks and just the right amount of stuff, and it's in the right location, and this is what it turned into. And it made this kind of shape in the sand. And we're all making a little different shape in the sand based on what we've banged into, what's come our way in the stream, how much garbage has floated our little section, and we've collected some of it. And that's our identity, is a little pile of garbage, you know. And that's an eye. And then that eye interacts with these other functions, which are the thinking part, which is the garbage collected, and the feeling part, which is got some garbage in it, but it's a little different kind of engine in the sense that it's just this biological animal thing going me, 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 me. You know, so relating that to the pyramid, the first thing on the pyramid is me. Right at the top is always me, 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 me. And, you know, what's my advantage? And then it will allow an idea like be a good person. Well, I can relate that to me because, yeah, I might get a badge. It says good person. I have my good person badge. And so that's a positive thing. So being a good person might be to my advantage, you know, because it might get me laid, or it might get me this, or it might get me... So I say, okay, yeah, I'll let that rise as a theme because it's a nice idea. Logically, I say, yeah, that would be good to be a good person. I'd really like to be productive and good and leave things better than I got them and have really, you know, I'd love to be farting perfume. You know, that would be great. Fart perfume. Yeah, I'd like to keep that as an idea. Yeah, I'd like to be that. As long as it's good for me. You know. And so we're always going to do that as long as it's good for me, kind of. We're always stuck with that a little bit. And that's where our motivations get a little bit compromised because some of them really require it to be good for me. It can be good for you. It can be good for the world. But it also has to be good for me. And that's where it gets a little messy. But there are legitimate challengers to the throne in the sense that sometimes ideas get really important, like World War II. And some obligation where, okay, me, I just can't keep saying me. I got to keep saying Hitler, Hitler, Hitler. And if nobody does it, we're doomed. That kind of thing. There's no real choice. It can't be allowed to happen. So, and if everybody just says I don't want to, then it ain't going to get stopped. So I get it. All right, fair cop. I got to be fair. See, fairness is a big, powerful concept. So for a lot of people, and this is admirable about humans, a little bit I'll say about human beings is there's a lot of people that if you can convince them they're being unfair, I mean, they don't see their unfairness a lot of times, so that's a real problem. But if you can convince them that they're actually being unfair, they'll often say, okay, I'll shape up. I'll be fair. Because a lot of people want to be fair. They don't really want to think of themselves as, I'm a cheater. They don't, that's not a me thing. It doesn't fit with me. Me, cheater. They really don't want to do that. They want to do me clever, me lucky. They'll come up with some other word for, well, they sort of cheated, and they'll just call that luck instead. Me, they'll find some way to distort it. But I'm just saying, if you could really convince them, show them that you're being fucking unfair, and they believe they were doing it, most people will say, I don't want that. Me don't want that. Me don't. And so that's admirable about people. So I'm saying some concepts are strong, because they're logically unbreakable. You can't get a handle on them and break them logically. They're just too fucking real. And fair is like one of those, it's too fucking real. You just can't undo the reality that being unfair when you see it, like you just walked up to the other player and kicked him in the nuts to win. Bullshit. Yeah, bullshit alert. You get it. Well, anyway, don't want to get into the details of the concepts, but the idea is, yes, me is powerful, but I shouldn't say that it can't be dethroned, because some concepts can push the me down a bit, and the concept wins. But that's all we are, though. So we're just concepts, accepted definitions, right? Facts, you could almost say. The idea of fairness is almost kind of a factual thing, conceptually. And so it just becomes an issue of integrity in those facts. And that's what the thinking thing does when it's thinking right. And that can sort of defeat the selfish feeler and, minimize the harm of this machine that just keeps saying something like, me hungry, me horny, me want, me take. no, it does something more complicated. It says me can't just take, me have to earn, me have to deserve, that kind of thing. And that's the I. That's who you are, is what kind of concepts you got stuck in that pyramid of themes, of noise. And yes, a lot of the noise is just going to be what's in it for me. It's certainly going to be it's hard to eliminate that sound because it's so real. You feel it, and it's hard to feel their pain. It's hard to worry about their pain as easy it is to worry about your pain. It just happens to be so much easier to worry about mine than to worry about theirs. And that's just a fact. But smart people know that fact, and so they allow the me to be tore down a notch. They allow it to have the shit kicked out of it once in a while by an idea, of fairness, or do what's right, don't be Scroogey stupid. So that kind of stuff rings, that bell tolls, and the body reacts. So anyway, I guess that's probably enough. I think that's pretty good, actually. So summing up, so the I is an eddy in the universe of collected happenings, events, stories, themes, ideas, and it's formed with this extra mechanism of feeling about it. And you do the feeling thing personally. I personally feel. The universe doesn't feel. The other people don't feel. The sticks don't feel. The rocks don't feel. This thing don't feel it. I feel it. I feel the associations. And because I feel, I am biased for me. But I can know that. I can see it happening. And I can say, fairness principle applied. Don't be Scrooge. Don't be a jerk. Recognize that there's more going on in this game. The other players have brains too. Their brain needs to be comfortable. Making your brain happy, no real different than making some other brain happy. I mean, if you can tell a joke that makes them laugh and it doesn't make you laugh, it's a joke worth telling, even if it doesn't make you laugh, because it was the idea of making something laugh that's the value. And you can understand that. Your I can be that idea. It can activate it and move it into the universe and into the world. You can make that idea a reality in the world. And that's so I's are important. Identity of the machine is important. Asshole versus not an asshole. Real concept. Selfish cunt versus informed, logical, insightful, sensible, depth of understanding kind of thing versus asshole, reckless, sloppy, stupid, superficial, deep versus superficial, quality versus, slop. Those are real concepts, and I's come in those varieties of sloppy and stupid and ignorant and informed and missioned and organized, and not that all those things are ever. It's like intelligence. Intelligence doesn't guarantee good function. It just can really help. An intelligent person could still be an asshole because he doesn't have intelligence about how not to be an asshole. He just has intelligence about how to manipulate and twist and turn and do the, break the combination on the lock and steal all the money. Grab him by the pussy in a trick way. He knows all the tricks. But there are ideas and themes, again, in that sense that there are probabilities, and the high probability that functionality is going to make you functional. So, just having the function of being able to understand that facts, and you put facts together and they can make more facts and you can gain more power, and understanding that process is more probable that you'll come up with something powerful and important. And if you don't do any of that organization, there's little chance you're going to come up with anything but, well, I'll stick my finger in my nose. That it is just. Yeah. So I think that's it. So I think the idea of individual machine, whether we call that I or me brain, or however we say individual machine, they are individual machines. No denying it. And they have really different individual character and function that's based on what they banged into, what happened to them in the process of this maturation. Some genetic element maybe, but I'd say tiny, tiny, tiny importance versus what bangs into you, what hits you. What you're made of, no, it's not what you're made of, it's what hits you that makes you. And the eddy's just a reflection of the storms and the minerals and what mountain the stream came down. All of that. The eddy's a reflection of it. But the eddy is something. It's not a nothing. The I isn't nothing. It's something. And it's recognizable as something different than, flashlight. Brain different than flashlight. Really different. And so I just don't see any point in trying to take it a step lower and say, no, it's just sand and garbage and flowing water. Because there is a mechanism to it. There are rules, and we know the rules. The rules are exposure and maturation, and the idea that you have to make character in something. You have to have character building experiences. You have to have a certain ingredients to make a person that can have this conversation in this way, to this depth, because they are striving to understand. Because one of those little things in the pyramid is get the right answer. Don't be a dumbass. Don't live for a fake God. Don't live for fake hopes and dreams and wishy-washy mush. Don't live. Don't walk a fake path. Don't walk a fake staircase. Don't, get it right. And do right in the real world, not some delusionary fantasy. Don't waste your time and with a wrong model. Get the model right. So anyway, that's probably enough. I already said that, but you can go on and on. But I think I hit the key concepts. That I think there is a definition. I think we can define an I in such a way that it's not just pub talk. It's not just placeholder. Well, let's just come up with a symbolic representation. I think it can be explicit enough to say, yeah, okay, I get it. All right, I don't have exactly the physical mechanism where the neuron goes zappy, and that means that thought is going to rise again with a higher frequency. It'll show up every 3 days. and then maybe it'll show up every 6 hours, or maybe it'll show up every time I hear a word that ends in an S. That'll pop up. Scrooge, 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 Scrooge. But it's like that. When something nails you, I'd almost say like the Jedi theme probably got into a lot of people's heads, and stories got told in that kind of sense of understand the Force is with you, or the dark side, and avoiding your dark thoughts. I mean, it probably motivated a lot of people to organize their psychology in such a way as to understand, don't become Darth Vader. Yeah, Luke's a bit of a jerk, but yeah, okay, just try not to be Darth Vader, for fuck's sake. Don't be seduced by the Emperor's candy of power. Even though, like the Lord of the Rings, again, another story about the danger of power. And I'm not really, I don't agree with those metaphors, frankly. I'd be great with the ring. No problem. I'm not a Mordor kind of guy. I don't dig up half-dead things. I don't like those drooly people and stuff. I would never have an army of those. I'd have an army of like little puffy marshmallow people or something that just go around with lollipops and say happy, happy. I mean, I wouldn't bother with any of that evil crap. So give me the fucking ring. But anyway, that metaphor is out there. Don't and it's these verboten things like we have to fight against these evil temptations of control, or it's such a negative story in so many ways, because it's just a story of acquisition, of acclimating and accepting being sword fodder. Although they don't show any of that reality, right? They only show the evil guys getting killed by the zillions. And they don't really show enough good guys, just getting wiped out all over the place. Even though that's the reality, they give the swords to kids and shit, but they don't show any of the kids getting stabbed and have their heads lopped off or any of that shit. Because then maybe you'd say, well, I don't think this is worth it then. Why don't you just give up the fight? Let the evil people eat each other and let's just get out of the game. But anyway, you can find somebody fault with so much stuff, but that's the idea. So Nick is almost arguing that, to talk about the eye is to talk about it in some sort of fake movie-tum kind of way, and that there is no, we haven't got this real story. And I say the real story is that, yes, we're just memories and associations, and some things kick us in like the knee, and then some things kick us right in the butthole. I mean, it's just a perfect kick. It gets us right in the butthole, and we remember that fucking thing. Good and bad. Yes, well, that was exciting. But also, whoa, that was a little too exciting. And that's what life does to you. And that's what you become. You become just a reflection of whether the boot hit you, right in the bullseye. And if it didn't, maybe you don't got any power themes. But if one or two of those things, one of those Scrooge movies just got right up your anus just the right way, it changes you. And your eye is, defined. And the puzzle pieces all start to fit. Suffering bad. My brain equal their brain. Oh, God, damn, that's just so, yes, that piece has to stay. That's just too fucking obvious. My happiness not equal, not greater than their happiness. Duh. I mean, and it all adds up, and you say, fuck, that's the rule book. All right? I mean, maybe the people are going to play whatever, kick them in the nuts, but I know there's a better game to play, and yeah, all the facts fell into place. And why'd they do that? Because I got a boot right in the right spot, and it made an eye that's doing something better than just going, what's in it for me? Till next time.